Alright, peace and greetings, YouTubers. So, story time. Now, I don't normally do a lot of these, but y'all are getting one tonight. You may have seen on the news that there was a shooting outside of the Nats baseball game in which everyone inside of Nats Stadium heard the gunshots and thought that there were armed gunmen inside the stadium getting ready to spray everybody. So, then comes the pandemonium and people running and screaming and crawling on the floor. It was straight chaos, and it was just my luck that I happened to be there while all of this took place. So, let me jump into the story. It is the weekend. I am enjoying my time off. If you follow me, you know I work with children, and children are great, but children can drain all of your energy, especially in the summertime. So some weekends, I really just enjoy being to myself at home with peace and quiet. And if I get under my weighted blanket and really crank the AC, I'm not going nowhere. I'm done for the day. But this specific day, I was actually working on my music. And so my friend Whitney hits me up and was like, hey, what are you doing? And Whitney was like, I'm like, oh, I'm doing my music. And Whitney was like, oh, well, I have tickets to this Nats game. You want to go for like an hour? And I was about to say no because I was kind of already in my music zone. And it was supposed to storm Saturday night. Like, we had been getting notifications on our phone. Oh, severe thunderstorm warning, flash flood warning, prepare. And so it's kind of like, I don't really want to go to a game and then it rains on us because that stadium is also not covered. And the tickets that we had were pretty close to the field. And so had it started raining, we were just going to be soaked and done for. So I really wasn't really trying to go. Plus, to be honest, I haven't paid attention to baseball in so long. I think the last time I paid attention to baseball where I still knew the players would have been 2001 when I was in like middle school. That's back when the Seattle Mariners had 116 wins and still missed the World Series because they lost to the freaking Texas Rangers. And at the time, we hated the Rangers because A-Rod went to the Rangers for like $120 million just to still quit them and go to New York. But, that's the last time I paid attention to baseball. I can't name any of the Nats players except Zimmerman. And the only reason I can name Zimmerman is because I was about to fight somebody on the train one day. Because I was on the train and I saw they had a Zimmerman jersey on. And I'm over here thinking George Zimmerman, when he killed Trayvon Martin. I was like, oh, y'all just all kind of bold on this train, huh? But that's the only player I knew. So anyway, I was like, you know what? Let me live a little. Because she was like, she has a free ticket, free food, free parking, free drinks. Cool. I guess I'll go. We can go for a little bit. And we had already made the little pact. Like, okay, we'll go for like an hour. Once it rains, we'll leave and go get some like real food and enjoy the rest of the evening. Cool. So we get to the game. Game is fun. It's a great time. We're watching the game. We got there after the game had already started. I think we got there like the second inning. And so we're in like, I want to say we're 13 or 14 rows back from the rail. Like there's the rail, and if you jump over the rail, you're on the field. So we got some pretty decent seats. It's a pretty cool crowd, and there's all the different interactive things happening. They got the dance cam. You dance, and the cameraman puts you on the jumbotron. Everybody, yeah! And who's wearing the red shirt? Yeah! And, all these different things, and clap for this, and charge this. And so the game is cool. Having a great time. And mind you, the music was really good. I didn't expect that. Like, the music was really jamming in this stadium. I mean, I don't know who was DJing, but y'all need to give them a raise because they were playing all the good stuff. I mean, they had like the Go-Go playing. They were playing like the Chuck Brown and Earth, Wind, and Fire. They were playing like Bad Boy throwbacks and everything. I was like, this is kind of lit. Okay. Because, when I think of baseball and what music they're going to play, I thought it was going to be Born in the USA and a bunch of patriotic songs all night. I was like, oh, God, kill me. And so, not literally. But, so anyway, game is going. They're playing all this good little music, and then they turn on Ludacris, Southern Hospitality. I ain't heard that song since middle school, but that's like one of my favorite songs. Cadillac Grills, check out all my Cadillac spills, whatever the lyrics are. So I'm over here just going and having a good time. And I'm wondering why Whitney is not going and having a good time with me at the same time, because me and her are like music buddies. You ain't ever heard a good version of All About the Benjamins until you see us do it. I'm Diddy, she's Lil' Kim. And so I'm wondering why she's not jamming with me. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? And she's like, whoa. And I'm like, what you wooing at? What's the whoa? What's the whoa? What we wooing at? And so she's like, no, we don't do that here. We don't do that. I'm like, we don't do what? She's like, I know I just heard gunshots. I was like, gunshots? Because I didn't hear anything. I actually did hear them, but I didn't think it was gunshots. I thought it was just the DJ mixing the music, and it was the little clapping sounds, because it was like some semi-automatic guns that whoever they used. There was a drive-by or some kind of shooting outside the stadium by the third base exit. I guess two cars were shooting at each other or something, but it was like semi-automatic, so it was the little kind of sound. I'm thinking it's just a DJ really scratching. I'm like, he killed it at this baseball game. It's more lit than the club. And so, she's like, no, that was gunshots. And at the same time, there's a little boy in the row in front of us, and he had been putting his foot inside the little crevices of the chair in front of him, and so his foot was sticking out the portion of the chair, and the woman in the row came and sat on his foot, so he's screaming at the same time. So it's just a whole lot going on. And I'm like, are you sure you heard a gun? And she's like, I know I heard a gun. And I'm like, I swear I didn't hear anything. And then I look across, and I see an entire section of, a few hundred people just scatter, running across the seats, people coming down all on the field, running into the dugout. I'm like, wait a minute, huh? Whoa, wait a minute, hold on. And then you start watching the pandemonium kind of spread and circle around the stadium. And I'm looking at the field. I'm like, wait, the players ain't on the field. I'm like, oh, wait, something is going down in here. Oh, shoot. And so literally, you start hearing people like in our section running, and somebody's like, oh, there's multiple gunmen. I'm like, oh, God. I'm over here like, of all the days, why does that happen while I didn't even want to come to this mess. I am not about to die at a baseball game. I'm over here talking to the Lord like, Lord, like, look, because me and the Lord had an agreement. One day I was like, listen, Lord, when my time comes, please let me die of old age in good health and in my right mind, and just let me die in my sleep at a nice old age, please. And he was like, I'm gonna think about it. I was like, okay, cool. And so I'm holding on to that, like, I'm not dying here tonight. Y'all got me effed up. We need to figure this out. And so this is when I start thinking of how I respond to movies. I'm one of those people, one, I don't really panic a lot. Like, it doesn't matter what the situation is. I'm usually here. I'll still react appropriately and respond, but I'm not going to be the one to panic, because panicking don't get anything done. And it kind of helps, especially as somebody who works with kids. You can't panic in moments that are chaotic, because it just makes things worse. Like one time, one of the kids in my center had a seizure, and so you got to really respond to everything but be here so you don't excite everybody else, and then it's more chaotic than it really has to be. So I'm over here thinking like the movies. I'm like, all right, you always watch these movies and you talk all this trash to the people about what not to do. It's go time. This is the movie, sir. What are you about to do? And so I'm over here plotting in my head because I'm thinking, how does this go? Okay, we got like 3 options right now. Option 1 is we attempt to run, jump the rail, pray that our ankles and knees still work, run into the dugout, and then run into that little back door that they have that goes under the stadium, and then hide in there until it's safe. And I'm thinking like, man, that's going to at least take 2 or 3 minutes. That's too many steps, and it takes too long, and we don't know how close the gunmen are, if there are gunmen. Option 2 is take our chances, go back up the stairs, run through that main corridor, and get out of the stadium. But then we were thinking like, well, of course, there's already people running and panicking. There's pandemonium. We're probably not going to get far because there's too many people running in the corridor right now. And if one of us trips and falls, then you get trampled on and probably killed that way. Or it just might be your luck. You run out there and there's a gunman. So I was like, you know what? Okay, option 3 is duck down under the seats, and we'll strategize and think of what's next when it gets there. And so I'm on the ground. Whitney gets on the ground. The people in our section are all getting down. I'm pissed because I done sat in a puddle of beer. Or I'm all mad. Whole right leg just soaked. Sitting in some, I don't know what kind of beer it was, but it smelled nasty and it was sticky. And so I'm in there just annoyed, and I'm like, okay, we got to figure this out. Because listen, if you follow me, like I love horror movies, and I'm always trying to figure out how to get out alive. I normally figure out a good way to make it out. Only movie I couldn't do it in was Quarantine. That's that one where it was the news cameras inside of this house, and everybody in the house had some kind of virus that turned them into mutants or zombies, and once you got bit, you were done. But you'd either die in the house because there was no way out, and even if you got out, you'd be shot by, all of the authorities who wanted to keep everybody in the house. So that's the only movie where I could not figure out how to get out. So I'm over here just plotting, thinking, people around me are starting to cry. And the sad part is there were a lot of kids at the game, because me and Whitney were just talking about how, this is a great little family event. This would be really fun. I'm over here thinking about who I need to tell to go to the game and who to take their kids. And now I'm listening to all the poor kids screaming and just terrified. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, parents, I need y'all to get the kids to just... Because just in case there is a shooter, we don't want to draw attention to ourselves. We need to act like we ain't here, okay? We need to be invisible. And so I'm just like, okay, this is chaotic. And so at the same time, I'm like, Lord, please don't let anybody try to be a hero that doesn't know what they're doing. Because that's what always makes things worse, is when somebody tries to be a hero and messes things up. Case in point.
Let him talk. He's talking. John, go ahead. Ginger. No, Ginger.
Oh.
Ginger. Ginger. Go on.
May I help her?
Yes.
May I help her?
It's all right if you help.
May I help her?
Yeah, that clip always gets me, because I'm like, man, what were you aiming to do? First of all, there was nothing in the purse. Even if you had made it with the purse and hit him in the head, what was supposed to happen next? Like, she could have got everybody killed. And the fact that they knew she was going to mess it up, the fact that the people were already telling her, no, don't do it, and she's over here like she's about to be freaking Xena. Don't worry, guys, I got us. About to get everybody killed. And then as soon as she realizes her plan failed, she just gives up and throws herself on the ground. I'm like, see, this is the stuff we be talking about. But anyway, so we're on the ground. I'm over here starting to think too much now, because I'm like, man, if these are like some armed shooters, please don't let them be like some white nationalist, racist, white supremacist, we hate black people kind of shooters, because ain't too many black people in this game. It's like 8 of us in the section. I'm like, dang, if they shooting black folks, we're done for. So I'm like, Lord, please don't let it be nothing like that. And then at the same time, everybody's not down. There's people running in the corridor behind us. There's people standing up in the stands because, whenever something crazy happens, everybody has a different response. Me and Whitney on the floor. Some of the people by us, we're on the floor, we down. People are calling their loved ones. Then there's other people who are still investigating, standing just all kind of tall. What's going on? What's going on? I don't. Did you see anything? No, John, not at all. I'm like, y'all, shut the. Like, okay. So all this is happening. And then there's a guy who's, carrying the drinks. I don't know what world he was in, but he clearly didn't know what day of the week it was. He had not been paying attention. He's walking. He comes to me, and Whitney's like, oh, is the game over? Because he didn't see the players on the field. We're like, sir. Like, are you not paying attention? And then we're looking like, you work here. You tell us what's happening. And mind you, there have been no announcements made about anything. At this point, it's been 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. No announcement has been made. Nobody knows what's happening. Now I'm about to fight whoever the announcer is because I'm thinking the announcer done dipped out too. Like the announcer must have saw something, he done bounced, and we just, every man for himself. I'm like, man. And so I'm looking at the guy like, I don't know. I just was annoyed because he was like 6'5", had this teal shirt on. I'm like, listen, if there are gunmen in here, you are drawing attention to my section. You're going to have to keep walking with the beer. Go. Like, away. Don't bring attention to my section because at this point in my head, this is like some terrorist group that hates black people. And like I said, ain't too many of us at this baseball game. And so I don't need any extra attention on my section. All right? And so it was just absolutely crazy. And then finally, they make an announcement on the Jumbotron, and it says, okay, the event took place outside of the stadium. Please stay in the stadium until further notice. I'm like, okay. So then all the level of anxiety goes down a little bit. Like, okay, all right, cool. All right, I still don't even trust that because it took y'all too long to say that. Okay, so I'm kind of just chilling, and things are starting to calm down a little bit. But everybody's still antsy because, again, we're not really getting any actual answers. I'm looking on Twitter, scrolling, just seeing if there's something I need to know about or anything else like that. So we're down there for like 4 or 5 minutes. People are still crying, especially the kids. I felt so bad for all the kids that were crying. That's a traumatizing thing. You done went out to the family outing to see your favorite baseball players and get your little popcorn and Cracker Jacks and stuff, and now they out here shooting, allegedly. And so, literally, finally they make the announcement saying, okay, you guys are clear to leave and exit the stadium. And then they're talking about, oh, well, the game's going to be scheduled till 1 o'clock if you guys want to come back. I'm like, ain't nobody coming back. You ain't got to worry about me coming back. I'm good. Now I'm good on baseball for a while. This was the outing I'm going on because, Lord, while we was down there, I was thinking like, man, the car is parked on the 5th level. Even if we make it to the car, we're going to get stuck trying to get out. So maybe we just need to run out of the stadium and come back in the next day or something to get the car. This is when everything was still happening. But yeah, so we finally make it out. I couldn't get home right away because the roads I needed to get to where I live were all closed. So we ended up going to Maryland because that's where my friend lives. So we went and got some food out in Maryland, calmed our nerves, laughed a little bit. After all the danger is going, then you'd be laughing at everything. Everything is funny. All right, it's kind of like Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves when the lady almost got ate by the roach, and then once they realized the roach was trapped, they all busted out laughing. Okay, same kind of energy. But I'm just glad it wasn't anything that it could have been. Like, that really could have been terrible because, again, when you have the conversation of soft targets, security wasn't really super tight. And that's why Whitney was annoyed because when we went in, they made Whitney take her hat off while she went through the metal detector. And it's like, wait a minute, now I know if she had to take her hat off, to get through the metal detector, you can't tell me somebody here came in with whole, semi-automatic rifles and stuff. Y'all got to be kidding me. But yeah, that is something to kind of think about, like soft targets, and then living in a place like DC, which is already kind of a targeted city. Every time we get into some military action or blow up something overseas, I'll be sleeping with one eye open, just waiting for the white flash. So, it is what it is. But I'm just glad, like, it didn't become what it could have been. There were some people that were injured. They were saying, like, it was crazy. When we left, we were told it was 4 people that were shot outside of the stadium. When I woke up, they said it was 3 people shot, including one person who happened to be at the game. So, I don't know, the story keeps changing, and we'll see what happens. But absolutely crazy. I'm just glad everybody in the stadium was all right, or at least most of the people. Best wishes to the people who were shot. But yeah, that was crazy. And again, it was crazy. Like, I wouldn't have heard the gunshots. I really thought it was the DJ just mixing the little clapping sound effects because they had been doing that all day. Doom, doom, gun, doom, 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 charge. All kind of stuff they be doing. So I'm thinking he was just mixing it with the Ludacris song. I was like, they jamming in here. Meanwhile, somebody getting shot. Crazy. Anyway, I'm out. Share your 2 cents, subscribe.